I want to sit down and bring up Jeff Davis. Jeff is probably the most prolific entrepreneur in our city. What I'm really impressed by, of course, I'm overwhelmed by his, his success, both financially and as a leader. But what I'm always impressed with is that Jeff is, he's like this sort of moving solar system. He's got people around him orbiting all the time. And they're entrepreneurs. People just pulling things out of him, knowledge, wisdom. And to the point where he's actually created his own program. He'll tell you about it, that helps inform entrepreneurs a lot like yourselves. Now he charges them a lot of money, so you're getting this for free. So thank you, Jeff. But without further ado, Jeff Davis runs Plan the Attack. Come on up, Jeff.
There was a problem when I started, and actually there were a lot of problems. One of the problems was that I had a direct competitor that had a 9-year head start on me. Another problem, I had no capital at all. Like literally I had a net worth of -$5. I saw it in my bank account, I overdrafted. -5. Anybody here ever had ramen noodles?
Oh,
beef flavor with a little bit of bread. It's the best, right? And dinner for the week for about $1.26, right? So that was a problem, no capital. I had no employees to help me do anything, and I didn't have the equipment that I needed to actually make the stuff that I was going out and trying to sell to all these people. So what I did have was like crazy work ethic. It's ridiculous, what I was willing to do. I will fight like hell for my dream, and if that meant working till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, then that's what I did. And I just worked and worked and worked until I got some traction, got it to where I could hire a dude. And then I hired another person, and I hired another person, and then really quickly I was like, whoa, there's 4 of us, and then, oh, there's 8 of us, no, there's 9 of us. And then I started, going to sell to prospective clients in other cities around the entire state of Florida, and then grew it to where we had clients everywhere from San Francisco to New York, almost 40 states around the country. We got featured in Fortune magazine, CNNmoney.com, and you go into business working for yourself, and as Michael Gerber says, you soon realize you're working for a lunatic. And you realize that, holy crap, starting a business, you were imagining these really casual lunches, sipping your iced coffee, calling it an early day, money's just pouring out of your ears, and then you realize, wow, this is like somebody took a bat and freaking mashed me in the face. If you're lucky, it's that high up. And then, oh yeah, a taste of a moment of glory. You get a moment of glory, and then you go, oh, okay, moment of glory. And then it does crush in the face, and then a little moment of glory, and then a crush in the face, and then that's the first 15 minutes of the day. So what I would challenge you, if there's just a few little things to take away from this talk, is when you get stuck, rethink everything. So if you don't have enough money, it's not ever a money issue. It's always that you haven't been resourceful enough and you quit before you explored all of the possible resources. So when you feel like you just don't have enough time, there's just not enough time, it's not ever a matter of the amount of time. It's always that you were doing the wrong thing during those hours. Okay? When you get stuck, rethink everything. It's not ever a money issue, it's always a resourcefulness issue. It's not ever enough time issue, it's always a what you were doing in that time issue. If you've already tried to uncover 72 different stones to try to find what you're looking for, and you haven't, unturned 7,200 stones. Right? Have you? If you've already looked at every prospect in the city you're at, and you haven't gotten the traction, go to every prospect in the entire state. Go to every prospect in America. Why are you limiting it to just America? My point is, every time you get stuck, rethink everything. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I kept working, and I had all these obstacles where I didn't have any capital. I didn't have any employees. I didn't have the equipment that it takes. But I just kept pushing. I kept, nowadays we have great terminology for it. You're allowed to fail, and now you can just call it a pivot. That sounds sexy. Wow, he must be really good at entrepreneurship. He did a pivot. Have we done a pivot? That would be my biggest takeaway to you is I'll repeat it again and again and again. When you feel like you're stuck, when you've reached obstacle number 14 for the day, rethink everything. It's not really a money issue, it's a resourcefulness issue. It's not really a time issue, it's what you're doing in that time issue. And Jim mentioned we have these groups that meet every month, and so I get the unique privilege of learning from myself from hearing these conversations of entrepreneurs right here, right where you live, that have built these incredible companies, largely from having just a ton of perseverance and resilience and resourcefulness, right? Example, young girl, entrepreneur, joins the group, $2 million company. We have these conversations over the next 3 years. I've watched her scale to a $20 million company. Now, that would be impressive alone. During these last 3 years, her mother passed away. She gave birth to her first child. She found out that she had breast cancer, and by the way, earned a PhD. What's your excuse? Most of this room is smarter than me. That's not like false modesty to charm the crowd. Like seriously, my teachers would be like, no, that's true. Alright, I promise you, probably most of this room is smarter than me. Probably most of this room got way better grades than me. Probably most of this room has a better business idea than me. Probably most of this room has an idea that could scale bigger than me. So the only question is, when you get to that roadblock, and you get to that plateau, and you get stuck,
Rethink
do
everything.
you stay there? Do you have enough scrap in you to rethink what it is when you're 3 freaking inches from that goal to pivot, and then that pivot was even worse, and pivot until you get whatever the hell you want.
You said that you didn't have any money and that you were scrounging along and then you were able to get it. How did you get it?
From work, from revenue. I never raised
Okay.
capital at any point. It was all just, I was super lean. I mean, it's like just, I was insanely lean. And when I say insanely lean, like in the first couple years of my business, I only did owner's distributions big enough to not die. You get me? Like I literally only took out enough out of the business to not die. Enough to have a light on, enough to get ramen noodles, and then I would literally pay cash for a $4,000 printer. I would just eat like crap for like 2 months and I'd pay cash, and then oh, now I want to buy this thing, and I just saw it. I was, one big thing I got myself was a nice big screen TV, because I was like, that's it for my wife and I for like a year. There's not any extravagant travel or going out. We'll do a lot of movies. So the one thing I got was a nice big TV, and I just stayed lean. I just stayed lean, and I think that's where a lot of businesses go wrong. They start to see success. They have a great month, and then they do what we all love to do, times 12. Whoa, I'm rich. And then the next month, And so while a lot of business, they start to get momentum, they start to see some success, and then they go out and get a Hummer. The exit as far as like the idea to the process. Yeah, so I remember clearly having the day where I told my wife, I think it's time to sell. From that point, from that conversation to actually, holy crap, we did it, was 2 years. Which was about a year and a half longer than I was hoping. But, so the process was, first finding an M&A firm to help guide me, putting together a list of potential strategic buyers. So not people, just anybody who might want to buy it, but who would maybe have strategic reasons to want to buy it, because they'll be willing to pay more than somebody who just looks at it purely as an investment. Does that make sense? And so I started to make a list of every company that might it might make sense for them. Maybe geographically expanding into the Southeast is what they wanted, maybe for defensive value, right? So maybe like what we do could kind of scare them a little bit, and if they could just buy me, it would help. Maybe we have complementary businesses, so that could be an easy upsell, cross-sell opportunity. There'll be one, you might think how many of those kind of companies would you make a list of if you're just going to make a list of potential buyers? 6, 10,
Yeah.
20? I did about 130 companies. So like I said, if you've unturned 72 stones to unturn 7,200, right? All potential strategic buyers. And one of the things that I did was, success leaves clues. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I started asking entrepreneurs who had had great exits if they'd go to lunch with me. And I can't think of a single one that wouldn't. And I just started picking their brain. I remember I was thinking of a smaller number until I had lunch with the guy who sold his company for about $21 million, saying he had a list of about 100 potential strategic buyers. I need to add to my list.
What was like the number one thing that makes you like the break point to grow like exponentially your business?
What was one thing that helped my company grow really fast? Or, I hate to say one like magic bullet answer, because then it makes you think that that's the one thing. I remember being asked to speak at an event maybe 2 years ago, and I said, all right, who wants to know the one thing? One secret thing that if you do this one thing, you'll make more money than you ever made, you'll have more freedom, more time than you could ever imagine. Who wants to know? I was like, close the door in the back, close the door in the back. All right, you guys ready? All right. And then, they're all like, these people are putting their phones down. What is it? I'm gonna get it. This is it. Here's the one thing. One thing is that there is no one thing.
Oh, wow.
Wrap your head around it. That's the one thing. That's the one secret. There is no one freaking secret. It's marketing, really good marketing, aggressive marketing, testing, measuring, getting feedback. It's working on your sales process at each of the touch points, improving the conversions of calls to an appointment, the conversion of the appointment to a sale. It's, great people, having really good people that get it and train, that you don't have to, it's being a good leader, that you don't accept crappy performance. It's all that stuff. So if I could tell you the one thing, is to just
don't just completely stop trying to find the one thing and know that it's everything. It's just being good at what you're good at, is how I started my talk. It's getting really good at knowing what you're really bad at. Finding as good a people or technology to do those things, do the things that you do well as you can, all in, you know? But it's all of those things. It's marketing, it's sales, it's the people, it's the process, it's the system, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all of it. It's all of it. You can't be, I mean, it's the idea. It's the marketplace have a need for it. Great, it's the timing. You know, it's all those things. But I would say one of my things that I would say with my company, my experience was I was just constantly marketing, selling, giving service so over the top that there's no way they wouldn't use us and tell everybody else to use us. Like so over the top. You know, so like I used to joke, if one of my customers called me at 3 in the morning on my cell phone and said, hey, can you give me a ride? I would have said, what street are you on? I would have responded like that. I'm dead serious. My wife would have, he would have. So you, yes.
Throughout your entrepreneurial journey and also, you know, working with other businesses, what is a good way for small companies to bring in and sell themselves to strategic partners?
To strategic, like promotional partners, like a strategic alliance?
Yes.
To promotional partners who can help refer business to you? Is that what you mean?
Well, strategic partners who you can kind of grow your product with, where you're providing value to them and vice versa.
Right, so just to make sure I'm clear, so you're saying for what your business does, other businesses that have similar things that could say, oh, I know somebody who could help you, that kind of thing?
Yeah, where you're working together.
Yeah, the best thing I can tell you is a lot of people get this part wrong. They schedule a meeting with that person, they go to Panera for an hour, have a great talk, and they see how they could help each other, and then they go back to their businesses, and there you go, trying to get their own business, and you go trying to get your own business, and by, not a month later, by like a day later, it's like that Panera thing never happened. So, one of the things is I would put as much of the focus and emphasis on the nurturing and staying top of mind as possible, so you don't just have this great, you pitched it beautifully, they get it, oh, I have a lot of people who could use it, and then they go back to just trying to keep their own lights on, and you can go to your thing, and they're not sure if you do a great job yet, because you had that one talk, but they don't know if they would be feeding one of their customers to look bad, you know, you don't know those things, but it's constant nurturing, giving them a turnkey system for how to do it. If anything, underestimate how like their version of describing how you could help them. You know, the more you say, and here's how you identify those people, here's the question you ask them, here's the, you know, webinar to send them to, here's the book, you know, that I wrote to give them, you know what I mean? So you have a process, a system, constant nurturing, and just, if anything, dramatically, you know, underestimate what they'll actually do, and then act accordingly to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Yep, and back and then you.
So, an entrepreneur wears many hats, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's the one thing you like to do the most?
Thank you. The thing I love to do the most is ideas all day long. Ideas all day long. And I think an attribute and a flaw of most of the entrepreneurs I know, you're sort of the visionary. You have the ideas. Your like head is out in the clouds of how it could scale and what we could offer and how we could beat our competitors, how we can get attention and all that fun stuff, how we market it, how we sell it. But then there's this whole other part with the implementation, execution, management, where a lot of entrepreneurs, including me, it's like if you looked at a graph of the interest level, it's like, ooh, the ideas, ooh, and how we strategic ideas and marketing and selling, and then like, all right, let's implement it and manage how it plays out. Like,
The problem is a lot of entrepreneurs
including myself, we're ADD. We have entrepreneurial ADD. It's like opportunity, opportunity, idea, idea. I'm like, literally, I'm like, ooh, there's something shiny. Shiny. I forgot your question. That's a shiny shirt. Where'd you get it? So it's balancing that out. So if you're, I mean, I want to give you more value than just answering. I like marketing ideas. You know, that's my answer. I like ideas. That's why these roundtable groups are a perfect place for me, because it's ideas all day long, and all these CEOs take my ideas, each other's ideas. You know, it's not they all come from my ideas. They come from each other's ideas. But I chime in too, and so I like that. And then they go back, do the thing. We hear how it went a month later. But if you're the visionary and you're the ideas person, and you like lots of opportunities, you need to have a person or people that are really more details and execution and management minded, because most entrepreneurs suck at that.
Discipline too, right?
Discipline like crazy. Good.
Now you know why he's in our Hall of Fame. Okay, so thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.